My sister and I simultaneously entered a horror game. She opted for the God of War system, while I bound myself to the Heartthrob system. Little did we know, she fought valiantly, enduring countless injuries and even losing an eye, while I became increasingly beautiful, effortlessly carried by various powerful figures to an easy victory. Driven to madness, my sister attempted to drag me down with her. When I opened my eyes again, we returned to the day we first entered the game. This time, she seized the opportunity to bind herself to the Heartthrob system before me. This time, it's my turn to bask in the adoration, she declared. I smiled. How could she not appreciate the autonomy of choosing one's own fate, free from the constraints of another system? Chapter 1. I choose the Heartthrob system. Upon hearing this proclamation, I realized my sister had also been reborn, back to the day we entered the horror game. In an age of interstellar exploration, entertainment had diversified immensely, with horror game reality shows recently surging in popularity. Since childhood, my sister had always been more popular than I. Our parents and classmates adored her vibrant and generous nature, while they scorned my quiet and reclusive demeanor. Even when we both signed with an entertainment company to debut, fans cherished her as a kind and lively ray of sunshine, while they regarded me as a burdensome little sister. The company cast us into the horror game for a live reality show, preparing us with the God of War and Heartthrob systems. I thought Yaya would choose the God of War system. Indeed, in a horror game, strength is far more valuable than beauty, but the Heartthrob system suits Yaya as well. The thought of that airhead becoming a heartthrob is nauseating. Both the comments and the company expressed astonishment at her choice. Yet I understood it all too well. In my previous life, she had chosen the God of War system. The company intended to craft us as a contrasting duo, she as the strong, independent heroine and I as a mere pretty, but useless canary. However, she inherently feared hardship and exhaustion, confronting those bizarre monsters with trepidation, fighting desperately day in and day out, only to emerge battered and bruised. Initially, fans praised her resilience, but gradually they criticized her inability to clear levels easily despite wielding such a powerful advantage, accusing her of being ruthless in her attacks, suggesting her early kindness was merely a facade. And the final dungeon, faced with a formidable 3-level horror boss, my sister ultimately succumbed, losing an eye in the process. In the end, Bai was met with scorn from fans, abandoned by the company, facing exorbitant penalties for breach of contract. Do you have any idea how much we lost on you? Bai, you might as well die in there without repaying us. Meanwhile, I grew increasingly beautiful, surrounded by throngs of admirers. A mere frown from me would send countless individuals rushing to my aid, allowing me to breeze through the game and amass countless followers. In her desperation, my sister sought my help, but I was nestled in the embrace of the 3-level boss, having orchestrated her rescue. I thought to myself, if only I could navigate this treacherous landscape with such ease, enduring even the loss of an eye would be worthwhile. She requested a private conversation, then suddenly went mad, plunging a dagger into my heart. Why you get to have it all so easily? This was supposed to be mine. Thus, after her rebirth, my sister resolutely chose the Heartthrob system. I smiled. Little did she know, even a beloved heartthrob must pay a price. Chapter 2. Typically, I am the one safeguarding Ying. This time, I fervently wish for her to bind to the war god system, granting her a modicum of self-defense. My sister gently elucidates amidst the barrage of comments. Yaya is truly kind-hearted, actually passing on such a formidable system to her younger sister. Buying has been leeching off her sister. How can she face herself? I hope she finally learns gratitude and protects Yaya. It's hard to fathom how they are even sisters. With a sibling like this, what sins has Yaya committed? I observe the screen filled with vitriol and cannot help but smirk coldly. In my previous life, I bore the brunt of Bayu's misdeeds countless times. From childhood incidents of lost belongings, smoking, and cheating, to romantic entanglements and plagiarism. Upon entering the industry, Bayu would pitifully beg me to take the blame, all the while donning the facade of the benevolent sister to plead on my behalf. She was vivacious and outgoing, while I remained silent and reclusive. Aside from her, no one cared to engage with me. My heart softened repeatedly, yet by the time I sought to clarify, no one was willing to believe me. Mother would slap me across the face, pointing an accusatory finger, chastising me. Your sister treats you so well, yet you still want to pin your misdeeds on her? Truly hopeless. From that point onward, I chose silence, allowing her to construct her image as the gentle, kind sister. Bai would say, Ying, I truly cannot afford these blemishes. We are sisters. If you take the blame for me, I will plead for you, and you shall not face any consequences. I thought to let it slide. After all, we were sisters. It was only when she plunged a dagger into my heart that I realized the extent of her animosity towards me. Bai bound herself to the heartthrob system, reveling in her increasingly delicate beauty. I, on the other hand, willingly accepted the binding of the war god system, feeling an unprecedented surge of power coursing through my veins. Chapter 3. Welcome to the D-level instance. Sunshine Community. Goal: survive for 7 days or fulfill hidden completion requirements. The familiar electronic voice resounds as we enter the first horror game instance, which was also the inaugural instance we cleared in our past life. The difference now is... Aya, do not fear. We are here to protect you. Bai is enveloped by her teammates, who venerate her, casting me a sly and triumphant smile. This time, our roles are reversed. The one sheltered in safety is her, while I carve the path forward. It is my turn to bask in the days of adoration. Bai has always been the focal point of attention. After I bound to the heartthrob system in my previous life, I usurped her position, which only fueled her jealousy and grievances behind closed doors. Our Yaya is so beautiful and gentle. She indeed attracts affection wherever she goes. This is the treatment our princess Yaya deserves. I paid no heed to my teammates' differential treatment. The horror game is, after all, a genuine parallel world. My memories of this instance's teammates have become quite hazy. It is a beginner S instance, and the strongest among them are merely novices who have cleared 1 or 2 instances. However, they're here to survive, while we are here to survive and perform. Indeed, if we perish here, it would be a true demise. It is precisely this realism and thrill that captivates a vast audience. In the era of the stars, entertainment reigns supreme. Yet, the company is not here to send us to our deaths. The 2 systems we have bound are remarkably powerful, serving as our significant advantages. The heartthrob system allows those around the host to easily develop fondness for them. From my observations in my previous life, after Bai bound to the war god system, she could effortlessly eliminate entities in instances below A level. But what about those above A level? After dispatching a peculiar creature, I sensed a faint surge of power entering my body. A resolution formed within me. Chapter 4. The Sunshine Community instance is essentially a collection of tragic souls who perished and transformed into eerie residents. The conventional method to clear the instance should involve gathering clues, alleviating their grievances, and enduring 7 days within their rooms. In my past life, Bai maintained her kind image, delivering a barrage of positive energy speeches that exorcised numerous eerie entities. Many praised her for her intelligence and kindness, garnering her a significant following. Meanwhile, I opted for a more physical approach to exorcism. Let us simply choose a room to settle in. I casually wiped my sword and addressed the group. Merely half a day in, I had already sent an entire building's worth of eerie entities to their demise. The others looked at me in terror, trembling uncontrollably. Bai's expression was one of severe discomfort. With her past experiences and the backing of the heartthrob system, this time, exorcising the eerie entities should be even smoother. She had already envisioned how to showcase her compassionate yet clever persona before the cameras. However, as soon as she knocked on the door, I swiftly pierced the eerie entity with my sword. After a moment, Bai restrained her anger and weakly reproached me. "Ying, you are too cruel. Perhaps they have their reasons, and we could communicate with them." I was taken aback, pointing to the eerie corpse with its 3-foot-long tongue and half a head. "Are you certain you want to reason with something that is clearly not human?" Yaya is so kind-hearted. Bai is typically dark and reclusive. In a horror game, her ruthless actions make one wonder if her psychological issues are surfacing. It's evident that the normal way to clear this instance is to find clues and exorcise the eerie entities. Killing them directly is truly dull. I find it quite exhilarating. If you have the ability, why not choose the simpler method? The Sunshine Community is merely a straightforward beginner S instance. Its simplicity lies in the sheer number of eerie residents. If one cannot handle it, one can always switch to another strategy. My choice: to eliminate them all. Over the course of 3 days, I cleansed the entire community of its eerie inhabitants. Originally, the danger in the instance stemmed from the eerie residents roaming outside at night. Yet now, the Sunshine Community has become so safe that one could even opt for a night run. The terrifying horror instance has transformed into something akin to a vacation. While viewers witness Bai's perspective, they see a leisurely life, where time flows gently. Transitioning to my perspective, however, one is immediately confronted with a gruesome slaughter scene. Numerous comments erupted in outrage, interspersed with sporadic shouts of astonishment and approval. Regardless of the debates in the comments, I remained steadfast in my approach. In any case, the initial instance was visibly easy to clear. Over the following days, the comments, my teammates, and Baiyu all breathed a sigh of relief. Yet, on the night of the 6th day, I decided to stir things up. Chapter 5. I unsealed the plaza of the community, unleashing the instance's most formidable boss. In my previous life, after everyone had chosen to clear the instance, I quietly remained behind, unlocking the seal that had caught my attention early on. Ultimately, a B-level boss emerged from the depths, inciting a riot among all the eerie residents in the community. I gazed regretfully at the boss, which seemed likely to drop a plethora of valuable items upon defeat. Helpless against the onslaught of countless eerie entities, I opted to transform into a beam of white light and clear the instance. This time, however, I would finally discern what treasures this boss would yield. Congratulations to player Baiying for defeating the B-level boss, Ghost Child, fulfilling hidden completion conditions. The power accumulated from defeating the eerie entities over these days surged into my body, coalescing into a singular force. Just after vanquishing the boss, a tremendous energy flooded into me, as if breaking through some barrier. I felt my strength amplifying. The War God system has leveled up. Hearing the voice announcement, Baiyu and the others hurriedly rushed to the plaza. I was in the midst of collecting the scattered items dropped by the boss. Baiyu, Isapata, Etgalim, Baizing. How can you be so selfish, hoarding the items all for yourself? I found myself perplexed. I discovered the boss, I defeated it alone. How could that be considered hoarding? How could she be so certain that the others wouldn't be able to find or defeat it? Baiyu's expression darkened. I'm afraid I do know. In my previous life, I was the only one who dared to venture out, while others remained within their confines. It was only through my bold attempts that I discovered, much to my astonishment, that the charming system could even manipulate conscious anomalies. It was precisely this system that shielded me from bizarre attacks. During my daytime explorations, I stumbled upon peculiar seals in the square. Coupled with the hidden conditions mentioned in the voice prompts, the implications became clear. In this life, the God of War system is bound to me, rendering the other participants mere trash compared to an B-class boss. This is not a matter of disdain. Rather, it is a fair assessment of the capabilities of those present. We are a team, yet you hoard the boss's loot without informing us. Do you consider us your allies? Baiyu vociferously accused. Others echoed her sentiments, subtly isolating me. However, I was unfazed. What do you wish to do? Naturally, I would distribute the items equally among everyone. How can one expect to reap rewards without exerting effort? It was almost laughable. Yet, recalling something, the sardonic remarks I was about to make shifted into a guise of compromise. You are my sister, so I am willing to share half with you. Baiyu remained skeptical. Swiftly, I tossed her a bag containing half the items. I was taken aback by her perception of me. It truly chilled my heart. Perhaps it is best if we part ways. With that, I did not wait for Baiyu's reaction, feigning utter despair as I chose to clear the level, vanishing in a flash of white light before their eyes. I had fulfilled the hidden conditions to clear the level ahead of time, while they would have to wait until morning. Before exiting, I glanced back at their greedy expressions, fixated on the bag in Baiyu's arms, and a smile crept across my lips. Sister, do take care of the gift your sister has bestowed upon you. Chapter 6. The barrage of comments had transitioned from shock at my unsealing to a steady stream of discourse. I've passed by so many times and never noticed the seal here. Instantly obliterated a B-class boss. I can't believe I find Baiying somewhat dashing. I feel the same. The one in front, enjoy your feast. It's just the power of the bound system. Is Baiyu being a bit excessive? Isn't it kind of you to let her have the God of War system? How could she defeat the boss otherwise? Dividing it is just being sensible. What the heck, the live stream is split. Baiyu had a point. Fearing she would intervene, I chose the night we were about to clear the level to stealthily slay the boss while they were relaxed. This was both to enhance my strength. I had already realized that defeating monsters would strengthen the God of War system, akin to gaining experience points in a game, and to fulfill the hidden conditions for an early clear. My hypothesis was confirmed. The God of War system could indeed level up. Baiyu, in her previous life, had refrained from slaying monsters early on, and in the later stages, was unable to overcome them, likely never realizing this crucial aspect. I was able to deduce it because the charming system also had the capacity to upgrade. As for the dropped items, with the God of War system by my side, I found that trivial B-class boss drops beneath my notice. Thus, it was easy to distribute them. Furthermore, I aimed to achieve the hidden conditions to clear the level early and separate from Baiyu. Although this meant I would not experience the same dungeon as in my past life, and the prior knowledge would be of no use, I did not regret it. Parting from Baiyu was a necessary step for me. In my previous life, I and Baiyu had participated in dungeons in sync, while I had taken on the role of a mere support character. The audience was primarily captivated by Baiyu, and all company resources were funneled towards her. Had I not made a drastic comeback, I shudder to think of my fate. Now, this was the first step towards change. The company, being capitalistic, would surely recognize the value of the discourse I generated and would be inclined to support me. I glanced at the title of my live stream. Killing Intent, the venomous beauty online slaying demons. I smirked, then turned to see Baiyu's stream title. Gentle as the moon, showered with affection. What a clever marketing strategy. Though the title was not particularly appealing, it appeared the company had decided to allocate some resources to me rather than placing all bets on Baiyu. I had long understood that the competition in horror gaming was fleeting. The true struggle lay beyond the screen. Watching the deluge of comments flood into my live stream, I could not help but smile in satisfaction. I am buying, and I appreciate your support. Chapter 7. As anticipated after the time shift. The subsequent dungeons I experienced were decidedly different from my past life. However, with the God of War system at my side, the absence of prior experience mattered little. I simply carved my way through effortlessly. Consistently embodying my persona as the God of Slaughter, I left no trace of anomalies in my wake. The difficulty of the dungeons escalated, and I aimed to seize the opportunity while I could still slay monsters with ease, fervently leveling up. Upon encountering anomalies, my eyes sparkled. They were all a source of experience. Bai Jie is so cool. I used to see others avoiding anomalies, and for the first time, I see someone chasing to kill them. What else with all this bloodshed? It's nothing compared to Yu, who is pampered by a crowd, making it unnecessary for her to lift a finger. To the adjacent saintly fans, kindly leave. I paid little heed to the disparaging comments directed at me. After all, in my previous life, I had also played the delicate beauty role, attracting all the saintly fans and facing my share of scrutiny. In this life, I had adopted a different style, thus drawing in a substantial following who relished my relentless slaughter. The company at least seemed to have made the right choices in product direction. Horror gaming reality shows indeed generate significant traffic. Initially, many of Baiyu's fans criticized me, but over time, I garnered the ire of numerous casual horror game enthusiasts. My reputation was already tarnished. It could hardly worsen. As the saying goes, one must hit rock bottom before rebounding. Gradually, those who cherished Baiyu returned to her, while those who admired my style remained loyal. I deliberately put on a show, freezing the live stream camera on my suave silhouette. Sure enough, the comments erupted in praise and amazement. Flattering fans, after all, is not a disgrace. Yet, I suspected the company would not allow us to remain unconnected, each comfortably coasting towards the conclusion. Indeed, once the difficulty of the horror game escalated to S-Class, I encountered Baiyu once more. Chapter 8. Welcome to the S-Class Dungeon, Zombie Siege. In the wake of the apocalypse, you, as members of the Rising Sun Base S Adventure team, are tasked with locating and safely escorting Dr. Chen, who carries the virus serum, back to the base. The conditions for clearing the level involve successfully escorting Dr. Chen to the base, or surviving for 5 days. As soon as I landed, Baiyu stormed up to me, her demeanor fierce. I never anticipated you could be so malicious. You never had good intentions when you distributed the items to me. Baiyu had been sailing smoothly these past few days, and the only misfortune she faced stemmed from my presence. The terrifying gazes that had once fixated on her during the first dungeon replayed in her mind, sending shivers down her spine. At that time, her system's power was feeble, and the overwhelming greed for precious items had constantly tugged at the affections directed toward her. The glances cast her way were rife with suppressed, profound desire. Thankfully, nothing had transpired in the end. She had endured the last few hours before clearing the level in a state of anxiety and fear. I had no intention of targeting Baiyu. The items I shared included protective gear. Since her binding to the charming system, her tragic fate had been set, requiring no intervention from me. The items were ones she insisted on dividing. I was bewildered as to why she now spoke otherwise. I feigned deep grievance. Baiyu, in a fit of rage, accused, you deliberately reserved the items for me alone, sowing discord between me and my teammates. My expression of innocence only deepened. Then, why did you not distribute the items to them? Baiyu was rendered speechless, glaring at me with fury. Who has upset Sister Yu? A youth approached, sweetly coquettish with Baiyu, Yet the glance he cast in my direction was decidedly hostile. A sharp dagger, swift as lightning, pressed against my neck, drawing forth a thin line of blood. "Do you require my assistance in eliminating her?" he inquired with a sinister edge. "Is there anything you need help with?" Fu Xingyuan also made his way over, professing his willingness to assist, while utterly disregarding the dagger at my throat, his focus solely on Baiyu. Soon, a crowd gathered around us, subtly emanating hostility towards me, who had seemingly fallen into conflict with her. It felt as though a mere furrow of her brow could summon their collective wrath to tear me apart. I suppressed a cold smirk within. Observing the increasingly grim expressions of the two men who stood protectively before Baiyu, I hesitated, my fingers twitching as I struggled to quell the rising tide of murderous intent, trembling as I spoke. "It is merely a minor misunderstanding between sisters." Baiyu, evidently misinterpreting the situation, flashed a triumphant smile in my direction. In our previous lives, they had gathered around me due to the charming system, and now they reveled in the adoration of Baiyu instead. She dismissed Xia's hand with a feigned pout, saying, "Xiao Yi, what are you doing?" "She is my sister." The kind-hearted Baiyu could never possibly call for someone to harm her own flesh and blood in front of so many witnesses. Thus, the tension dissipated as if it had never occurred, the atmosphere returning to one of lightheartedness and joy. The throng of admirers continued to orbit Baiyu like satellites. I was certain that the charming system had undergone an upgrade. I reflected on the infatuated and frenzied gazes of those around her, and the smug satisfaction radiating from Baiyu. I could only hope that my sister's fate would prove somewhat more favorable than mine had been. Chapter 9. In our previous lives, we had suffered greatly in this S-rank dungeon that we now faced for the first time. Our starting point was in Dr. Chen's laboratory. From there, we were to escort individuals to the Sunray base, a journey that should not take more than 3 days. However, the completion condition included the stipulation of surviving 5 days. At the time, none of us took it to heart, merely assuming the deadline was 5 days. Yet the difficulty of the S-rank dungeon delivered a harsh lesson. We successfully escorted Dr. Chen to the base, yet the completion status did not register. 3 days later, the zombies breached the base, and we fought desperately for survival. With the protection of Si Yi and Fu Xingyuan, I barely managed to meet the requirement of surviving 5 days. The Dr. Chen we had escorted was a fraud. Our preconceived notion that the man in the laboratory was Dr. Chen had led us astray, for he turned out to be a spy sent from another base. 3 days later, he opened the gates of the base, allowing the zombies to flood in. This time, Baiyu was aware of how the story would unfold, and she naturally would not allow herself to be caught in such a predicament. I did not stop her from revealing that this person was an imposter posing as Dr. Chen, prompting her to garner a wave of goodwill in front of the audience. Yu is simply too clever. Who dares to call Yu a mere pretty face? Our Yu embodies both beauty and wisdom. Buying with the war god system is but a waste. Perhaps in the previous life, not all had gone unnoticed. I secretly observed Fu Xingyuan's unperturbed smile. As if he had known all along, a heaviness settled in my heart. Indeed, Fu Xingyuan had discovered the truth about Dr. Chen being a counterfeit in the last life. Yet he showed no inclination to offer a warning. I could only vaguely surmise his motives. However, this time his focus lay elsewhere. What did all of this have to do with me? I watched Baiyu, who floated on air, and silently lit a candle for her. May fortune favor you. Dear sister. The real Dr. Chen had already been abducted, and rushing to catch up would only lead to numerous unforeseen complications. After some discussion, the group decided to return directly to the Sunray base to meet the survival condition. Thus, I set off with them. We drove a large off-road vehicle, choosing to circumvent large hordes of zombies while dealing with smaller groups. When I returned after dispatching the zombies, I noticed a newfound admiration in Si Yi and Fu Xingyuan's eyes. Baiyu, observing my calm demeanor, felt a flicker of resentment. Ying, you're hurt. Baiyu exclaimed dramatically, pointing at the bloodstains on my hand, as if I might mutate at any moment. I told you, with Xiao Yi and Mr. C here. You needn't worry. What will you do if zombies have scratched you? She feigned concern, yet there was an unmistakable hint of schadenfreude in her tone. I wiped away the bloodstain, revealing unblemished skin without a trace of injury. That is not my blood. I wouldn't want to alarm my sister. You've wasted your worry. Baiyu's gaze bore into my hand, as if she longed to inflict an actual wound herself. Along the way, Xia's expressions increasingly turned unfriendly. I was not surprised. Although Baiyu would not voice it outright, Xi could certainly sense her disdain for me. In my previous life, I had encountered Xi in the 3rd dungeon, after which he had persistently clung to me. There were indeed many peculiar team-oriented items in the horror game. Eventually, I found myself surrounded by a select few individuals. Siyi was among them. Our initial meeting had left a profound impression on him, influenced deeply by the charming system. Hence, it was only natural that Siyi was now utterly infatuated with Baiyu. I recalled how he had pretended to be obedient in front of me, only to reveal his true, feral nature to others. Now, with Baiyu as his object of affection, he bared his fangs at me. Ahead, a large group of zombies blocked our path. This time, Siyi suggested we charge straight through rather than take a detour. The others readily concurred, and soon, all eyes turned toward me. If Miss Bai is unwilling to take risks, she may seek an alternative route, Siyi said, a smile that barely concealed malice playing on his lips. Of course, I could not choose to depart. Then do take care, Miss Bai. Do not stray from our path. Siyi cautioned with a smile, though a glint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. We climbed to the roof of the vehicle to eliminate the zombies, leaving Baiyu inside, while Fu Xingyuan remained by her side, protective of her. As we neared the exit, I finally felt a wave of relief wash over me. Suddenly, a tremendous force struck from behind, and I was thrown from the vehicle. Miss Bai, Siyi exclaimed in alarm. I steadied myself on the ground. The last thing I saw was the vehicle receding into the distance. Siyi stood atop the vehicle, waving goodbye with a smile, mouthing the words, "Go die." The little mad dog had indeed made his move. Soon, a massive horde of zombies surged toward me, completely engulfing my figure. Chapter 10. 3 days later. At the Sunray base. Congratulations, player Buying, for successfully escorting Dr. Chen to the base, achieving the completion condition. The incredulous expressions of the onlookers were palpable upon hearing the voice announcement. Siyi suddenly stood up. How is that possible? Baiyu's face darkened further. She understood that I was not so easily dispatched, yet she had not anticipated that I would complete the task. She had not returned to the Sunray base. How could I have possibly succeeded? The completion requirements did not specify which base to reach. Fu Xingyuan spoke softly. Ah, a game of words. Indeed. This dungeon was rife with linguistic tricks. Just as the one in the laboratory was not necessarily Dr. Chen. The base that needed to be safely reached did not have to be the Sunray base. After parting ways with them, I headed in the opposite direction, locating Dr. Chen and a group of individuals being taken to the Thunder base. I immediately defected to their side, personally escorting Dr. Chen to the Thunder base, the very base that had sent spies to eliminate the Sunray. As members of the Sunray, we had instinctively assumed we should return him there. Fu Xingyuan chuckled softly. How amusing. What good does it do to think of these things now? Baiyu interrupted angrily. Bai Ying's success will not affect our completion. Fu Xingyuan curiously asked, Isn't it a joy for you to know her sister is safe? Baiyu's expression froze, a strained smile twisting her features. Of course. I'm happy that Ying is fine. I'm just a little surprised. As Baiyu gazed at Fu Xingyuan, whose smile seemed to see through everything, a sense of dread stirred within her. Forget it. Let us consider it luck for Bai Ying. In the evening, the slumbering Baiyu was abruptly roused by the blaring alarm. Shi Yu forcefully breached her chamber door, his expression grave. Sister Yu, we must flee at once. The base has been overrun by zombies. How could this be? We did not bring any traitors back to the rising sun. Yet, there was no time for her to ponder the impossibility of the situation. Baiyu followed closely behind Shi Yu, terror propelling her to escape. However, after merely a few steps, she found herself gasping for breath. The physique bestowed by the charming system was delicate and alluring, starkly contrasting with the robust strength she had possessed in her previous life, where she had been bound to the warrior system. At first, the exertion was manageable, but soon, after just a few more strides, fatigue and weakness overwhelmed her. Nevertheless, with the charming system's upgrades, countless individuals were eager to heed her commands, causing Baiyu to dismiss her physical limitations. Clinging to Shi Yu's back, Baiyu reveled in the comfort of being protected, her heart swelling with pride. The charming system was indeed effective. The base had descended into chaos, but fortunately, Shi Yu proved to be remarkably reliable, slicing through the horde of zombies like a sharp blade. Yet, despite his prowess, Baiyu found herself shrieking in fright, unable to quell her complaints. Soon, they reunited with Fu Xingyuan, and the weight of their predicament lightened considerably. Where have you been? Baiyu pouted petulantly.
Fu Xingyuan smiled softly,
his profound gaze flickering in the firelight. I was attending to a minor matter. When Baiyu finally spotted him, she was trembling uncontrollably. Shi Yu stood nearby, his expression inscrutable, lost in thought. The barrage of comments from the audience erupted. Is Baiyu truly a fool? How could she be so easily discovered? Did she believe that binding a system made her invincible? Look where that has led her. Was buying formidable solely because she was bound to the warrior system? Is it truly enjoyable to belittle others? Just moments ago, they had managed to burst forth into a safer haven. Baiyu was poised to voice her grievances when Fu Xingyuan suddenly seized her by the throat. What are you doing?
She climate in alarm.
Yet, he remained hesitant to act. Release Sister Yu. Chapter 11. Fu Xingyuan paid sure you no mind, continuing in his own world. It is truly peculiar. I have always despised women who are both beautiful and foolish. Yet from the moment I laid eyes on you, I could not tear my gaze away. I found myself ensnared by an urge to protect you at all costs, even to the point of sacrificing my own life. He chuckled lightly. Even now, I find you pitifully endearing, rendering me incapable of harming you. Baiyu's complexion paled further with his words. Shiyi lowered his dagger, deep in contemplation. Baiyu struggled to pry his hand from her throat, but her efforts were as futile as an ant attempting to shake a tree. She feigned calmness, forcing a smile, but the tremors coursing through her betrayed her. This is undoubtedly love. You fell for me at first sight, hence your desire to protect me. Is that so? I had no idea I loved you this deeply. Fu Xingyuan loosened his grip, his smile now brimming with concern. Are you all right, Yu? I was merely caught in a moment of confusion. You do not harbor any resentment towards me, do you? Of course not. Baiyu instinctively recoiled from him, seeking solace from Shiyi. Yet, Shiyi did not come forth to comfort her as before. His gaze was complex, revealing an inner turmoil. My entrance shattered the tense atmosphere, and all three turned their attention towards me. Baiyu hastened to my side, as if she had grasped a lifeline. This might have been the first time in her life that she genuinely appreciated my arrival. Ying, it seems you did not opt for an exit. None of them were inclined to question how I had appeared. Fu Xingyuan's smile grew increasingly gentle and harmless. You two truly share a sisterly bond. When Miss Bai fell from the vehicle, Yu was profoundly distressed, declaring she could not bear to witness her sister's plight and forbidding us from turning back. Baiyu shot Fu Xingyuan a resentful yet fearful glare, then turned to me with an awkward smile. Ying, at that moment, I thought you had been devoured by zombies. I was devastated. I ignored her, fixing my gaze on Fu Xingyuan. You were the one who opened the gates of the Rising Sun base. Fu Xingyuan paused, seemingly taken aback that I had uncovered his secret. He nonchalantly nodded. Indeed. Baiyu regarded him with an expression akin to madness. Fu Xingyuan had indeed lost his sanity completely. The charming system would ensnare individuals, compelling them to fall irrevocably in love with the host. As the bond deepened and the system's level increased, this influence became ever more pronounced. The warrior system thrived on bizarre deaths for upgrades, while the charming system thrived on human affection. Initially, it manifested as an inexplicable fondness, but in time, it could ignite instant love, prompting individuals to willingly sacrifice their lives to protect the host. The more powerful a person was, the greater the emotional intensity they could wield. Yet they were also more susceptible to the system's temptations, often becoming aware of their own peculiarities. However, not all affections manifest as selfless sacrifice and protection. In horror games, there abound twisted madmen whose love is dark and profound, rife with dangerous desires for possession and control. I had suffered greatly at the hands of such lunatics in my past life. Gazing at Fu Xingyuan's gentle facade, I recalled the madness lurking beneath, and my desire for vengeance surged. I had clandestinely grappled with these maniacs countless times. On the surface, I remained their docile and cherished canary, while they were my steadfast and formidable guardians. Yet beneath this facade, I sowed discord among them, inciting them to turn on one another. They, in turn, sought to exploit the system's loopholes, attempting to kill me. Forcing open the base's gates, triggering a zombie uprising, was merely one of their minor attempts. We were both ensnared by the system, destined for an unfavorable end, yet that did not diminish my hatred for them. My presence here was solely for the sake of vengeance. The sword in my grasp vibrated in response to my surging murderous intent. Though Fu Xingyuan remained oblivious to the source of my hatred, he too grew serious, bracing himself for a deadly confrontation. This lifetime, bound to the warrior system, I was unmatched, and I comprehended Fu Xingyuan better than anyone else. My victory would not be arduous. In my previous life, despite my relentless efforts, I could not overcome him. He toyed with me as a cat would with a mouse. Yet now, he lay helpless beneath my blade, his life and death resting solely within my whims. My heart raced. This time, no one would dictate my fate. Chapter 12. Fu Xingyuan coughed up a mouthful of blood. Although he was uncertain where he had offended Miss Bai, he acknowledged that I was superior and deserved my fate. He gazed at Bai Yu with a mix of weakness and sorrow. It is a pity that I can no longer protect you, Yu. With that, he closed his eyes, adopting a demeanor of resignation. How pretentious. I scoffed internally, my grip on the sword unwavering as I prepared to strike.
Wait.
Bai Yu interjected, pleading. Do not kill him. If Fu Xingyuan dies, Shi alone cannot protect her in the subsequent chapters. Bai Yu clenched her teeth. Although Fu Xingyuan had erred, this was a horror game after all. The death of NPCs bore little consequence. Surely, her sister would not resort to murder over this. When I slay the grotesque, I am deemed ruthless. Yet when it threatens her interests, the deaths of numerous NPCs suddenly seem inconsequential. Such fluid moral standards. I had no intention of sparing Fu Xingyuan for that reason. Despite Bai Yu's terror towards his madness, his own admission of love for her ultimately swayed her. Moreover, the trials ahead would grow increasingly perilous. Fu Xingyuan, ensnared by the charming system, could not harm her, making him of potential use. Whether out of compassion or arrogance, Bai Yu and I faced off in a standoff, but she soon regained her haughty demeanor. Could it be that Ying found his infatuation with me intolerable, prompting her extreme actions? I sheathed my sword. Since her sister interceded on his behalf, I was willing to grant him a reprieve. As we brushed past each other, I handed her an object and whispered something in her ear.
What do you mean by that?
Bai Yu suddenly erupted with emotion. I refrained from further explanations and chose to proceed. The path selected by my sister must be traversed with utmost care. Welcome to the S-rank difficulty dungeon, the Blood Clan Castle. To clear the level, survive for 3 days or achieve hidden objectives. After an indeterminate number of dungeons, I have finally returned to this place, the site of my demise in my previous life. It is also the final dungeon contracted by the company. I glanced at my teammates and, as expected, spotted Bai Yu among them. She was surrounded by 5 men, the very individuals I knew all too well. However, the weariness and pallor etched upon her face suggested that she had not fared well. The venomous glare she cast in my direction was palpable, and I could see her muttering something resentful to one of them. That man glanced at me, chuckling as he shook his head at her. Bai Yu's expression soured instantly. Despite following the memories of her past life, which had brought these men to her side, things were clearly amiss. They treated her as if she were a pet, obedient to her every trivial whim, yet her opinions were dismissed as inconsequential. There was even an instance when she remained unconscious for the majority of a dungeon, yet they still cleared it. When she later confronted them, she received nothing but insipid reassurances. A safe and effortless clearance. Wasn't that what you hoped for? What could be wrong with that? Confusion clouded Bai Yu's mind. This was indeed her initial wish, yet something felt off. The tangible sense of belittling control was something only she could truly feel. Moreover, their occasional blunders, earthquakes, toxic gas, riots, were met with their remorseful apologies, claiming they had failed to protect her. Bai Yu was left in a fragile state, teetering on the brink of despair. This was an unavoidable calamity, a natural disaster, and they were powerless to prevent it. Yet, she could discern malice and mockery in their eyes. Whether it was due to the system or some hidden injury, her body had grown increasingly frail, making even walking a laborious task. Hatred for these men consumed her. Yet leaving them was an impossible feat. She could only maintain a facade of peace, akin to quenching thirst with poison. The comments from onlookers berated her for being infatuated. Yet in her past life, they had all praised Bai Ying. The company scolded her. Bai Yu, do you have any idea how much we have lost because of you? You died in there, and still owe us. Why, despite choosing a different system this time, had she ended up in the same predicament? It was only upon encountering Bai Ying again that Bai Yu's pent-up resentment found an outlet. It was all her fault. Had it not been for her, she would not have attracted these deranged individuals. Had it not been for her, she would not have fallen into this wretched state. Why was it that no matter what she did, it was always wrong? She had stolen everything from her. She deserved to die. Chapter 13. The difficulty of the final dungeon was no trifling matter. However, armed with the experiences of my past life, many dangers could be circumvented. I had rehearsed this dungeon countless times in my mind. This time, the clearance would be executed flawlessly, both technically and performatively, leaving no room for error. Ying is breathtaking. S-rank dungeons are so effortlessly navigated. Congratulations to Ying for clearing the dungeon and returning home. Yet, I had not anticipated that Bai Yu would awaken the hidden boss. In my previous life, it was she who inadvertently broke the seal on the boss. But now Bai Yu, wielding a blood-stained dagger, laughed maniacally as blood dripped from the wound in her palm onto the coffin below. She had willingly released the hidden boss.
Why?
They were so close to clearing the dungeon. Why? What was the point of clearing it when my life had already been ruined by you all? She glared at us with venomous rage. Killing you would allow me to clear it just the same. The overwhelming aura of the 3S rank horror boss surged forth. The Blood Prince, Etna's, has awakened. Enormous bat wings burst forth from the coffin, enveloping Bai Yu's figure. My bride, is it you who has awakened me? Bai Yu sighed in relief. Indeed, in my previous life, Bai Ying had also ensnared such a formidable and eerie boss with her charismatic system.
It is I.
Bai Yu trembled slightly at the sight of the handsome and sinister Blood Prince, unsure if it was excitement or fear. Please help me kill them. Edna's cast a disinterested glance our way, casually waving his hand, causing the entire castle to tremble. The ornate dome collapsed, and in an instant, the grand hall was reduced to ruins. Bai Yu was cradled in Etna's arms, suspended in midair, and as she looked down, her heart swelled with exhilaration. I hid within the crevices of the debris, contemplating my next move. Bai Yu is truly the epitome of foolishness. Had she not endured enough of the charismatic system's tribulations to dare to attempt to manipulate this bizarre boss? Bai Yu shouted, Buying, I know you're not dead. Show yourself. With resignation, I revealed myself before them. Although Bai Yu had killed me in my previous life, I did not harbor hatred towards her. The twisted emotions influenced by the system were far darker than mere human feelings. The bewitched boss, enamored with me, could not allow me to leave the dungeon alive. Remaining would surely lead to an even more brutal fate. I was prepared for a final, desperate struggle. Given the disparity in power, the best outcome would merely be death. In truth, Bai Yu had saved me by killing me. Thus, I was willing to grant her one last chance. At the end of the zombie dungeon, I offered her a syringe, saying, Inject this in the main god space. It will help you sever the system. Bai Yu did not inject it. She lacked the courage. Even knowing that the charismatic system loomed over her like a sword, ready to strike down her life at any moment, she still did not dare. The moment I laid eyes on her in this dungeon, I understood her choice. I could not fathom why she harbored such hatred towards me. I had never wronged her in the slightest. Your very existence is the greatest affront to me. I do not require your self-righteous charity. Everything that belongs to you should rightfully be mine. I despise that whenever others mention me, they invariably mention you as well. Even as my subordinate. Even when everyone else dislikes you, those glances should belong solely to me. Your role as my shadow has already been intolerable. Now you dare to usurp my brilliance. I must choose again. This time it must be different. She lunged at me, intent on killing me as in our previous life. Yet her frail body could not even approach me. No matter how many times we began anew, it remained the same, sister. I am not your shadow, rather. You have continuously borrowed my light, believing you were the one shining brightly. This time, however, I refuse to lend it any longer. You truly understand by you shot me a spiteful glance. You deliberately led me to this point. It is all your fault that I have become this way. Given another chance, she had many opportunities to choose differently. Yet she always opted for the worst path. The roads were hers to choose. Yet she blamed me for all the consequences. Today, this sisterhood of ours has reached its conclusion. Chapter 14. Etna's. Why have you yet to make a move? Originally watching us with keen interest, Etna's raised an eyebrow, displeased by the commanding tone of the order. I will deal with these feeble insects shortly, but I currently have more pressing matters. Etna's produced a ring. By binding our fates together, my wealth and life will be shared with you, and I shall naturally clear all obstacles for my beloved. Bai Yu hesitated, then seemingly resolved, she clenched her teeth and snatched the ring, placing it upon her finger. Etna's. I want to adorn our wedding with her blood. The red eyes of the Blood Prince sparkled with a cruel excitement. As you wish, my bride. To go so far as to kill one's own sister. How truly malicious. Has Bai Yu gone mad? There was still a chance for retreat even in death. But to contract with a horror boss means she will forever remain in the dungeon. The system will automatically unbind after this instance concludes. The fate that awaits her there is too dreadful to contemplate. Bai Yu has indeed lost her sanity, yet my sister has wagered everything to offer a grand gift. And I must graciously accept it. The viewership in the live stream has surged dramatically. Kind-hearted souls, malevolent spectators, those seeking amusement, and anxious onlookers all eagerly anticipate the resolution of our unfolding drama. The 3S level instance boss possesses an exaggerated strength. However, no matter how formidable a boss may be, they are ultimately designed to be vanquished, provided one discovers their weakness. How could it be otherwise? The vampire prince gazes at the silver cross embedded in his heart, an S-level artifact. Yet, my preparations extend far beyond this. I had meticulously equipped myself with an array of tools to counter the vampires, though most remain unutilized. Eternus, your hubris is your downfall. The bloodline bound by marriage will yield half of its lifespan to its partner. Even in this diminished state, you still believe you can effortlessly eliminate me? The arrogance of the bloodline is, in fact, a facet of their vulnerability. Yet they possess the means to be arrogant. I observe the vampire prince closing his eyes as if embracing death. They are immortal, impervious to annihilation, destined only for a prolonged slumber. Congratulations to player Bying for achieving the condition to seal the vampire prince. My sister shall await his awakening a century hence. However, were I in your position, I would fervently strive to prevent that date from arriving, for the duration of his slumber will be the most tranquil period for you in the realm of horror games. Bayu's countenance turned ashen. She desperately attempted to grasp the fading light of my departure. No, you cannot do this to me. I refuse to remain here, Bying. Sister. I regret it. Yet ultimately, she could only witness my vanishing before her eyes. Bayu, her spirit extinguished, knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face. Hearing a commotion behind her, she turned to look. Fu Xingyuan approached in a disheveled state. Bayu's hope rekindled upon seeing him. Fu Xingyuan, take me away. Fu Xingyuan merely regarded her peculiarly for a while before piercing her heart with ease. He muttered to himself. Has the influence faded because she has become an NPC, or is there something she has lost? He did not linger on the matter, transforming into a beam of light to complete the instance. After his departure, Bayu was revived once more. She will share the eternal life and longevity of the bloodline, destined to exist in this desolate instance forever. Chapter 15. I was ignited to a chaotic extent. From an obscure figure to a burgeoning star, previous scandals were unearthed, revealing that I had taken the blame for Bayu. A multitude of individuals, inexplicably claiming to be my teachers and classmates, emerged to extol my steadiness and reserved nature since childhood, declaring me capable of great achievements. I had anticipated that my parents would resent me for my treatment of Bayu, yet astonishingly, they seemed to have entirely forgotten their once cherished daughter, their faces beaming with pride as they lavished me with praises. It felt as if the entire world had suddenly fallen in love with me. Alarmed, I hurriedly checked to see if the charm system had somehow followed me.
But how could that be?
This is the real world, not a horror game. Yet, life can sometimes be more absurd than a game. Many who watched my playback became newfound fans. With such talent, why not make a name for yourself in horror games instead of lingering here as a minor celebrity? Upon reading this comment, I found it to be quite reasonable. In this day and age, those thriving in the horror game sphere are all formidable figures, far more promising than those in the entertainment industry. Thus, in my 25th year, I transitioned from a minor star to a reincarnator in horror games. Without a system, death was genuine. Yet clearing instances would earn points redeemable for various rewards, a hardcore survival experience. I streamed occasionally, created videos, and felt I had found my true path. By the time I turned 28, I had become the nation's top sensation, acquired my former company, and began my retirement ahead of schedule. I occasionally heard other reincarnators mention a peculiar D-level instance. Within it resided a solitary female NPC who would go mad and incessantly cling to anyone who encountered her, pleading to be taken out. But who could extricate an NPC? She could not be killed, and the rewards were meager, leading to a gradual decline in interest. Until one day, a formidable boss awakened there, and the instance's difficulty escalated sharply. Thereafter, no one ever saw that female NPC again. Now, when people mention Bying, they speak of her unmatched prowess as a reincarnata, the youngest and most affluent female entrepreneur in the nation. No one ever refers to her as Bayu's sister. Sister? Is this the life you desired? The end of the text. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.